If I asked you to think of the happiest moment that you've ever lived in your entire life, I doubt most of you would be able to give me an immediate answer. You'd be able to. You just have to sift through a lot of mediocre memories before you think of one that makes you go, yeah, I guess that works. But if I asked you to think of the saddest moment, the most embarrassing, a moment that you cannot think about without cringing, I'm willing to bet that something or the other comes to mind. Why is that? Sure, you can chalk it up to biological programming and go, we're built to remember what scares or upsets us. Or you might say that you just haven't lived your happiest moment yet. But really, a part of it is that we focus on the negative to reinforce this idea of an abstract positive and drive us towards a something better. I was at a leadership camp in grade 9, and as an activity, we were asked to define this something better. We were asked to define success. And at 15 years old, my definition looked a little bit like this. Success is when you're proud of everything you are and everything you've done and everything that you're gonna do. And 2 years later, I cannot say that I can agree with 15-year-old me. Because how can you be proud of everything that you've done? You've made mistakes, and you will make mistakes, and you learn from those. Those are important. And how can you be proud of everything that you will do? The future is one big, annoying question mark. And yeah, I guess in theory you can be proud of who you are now, but that's not success per se. That's really just a small part of it. So when I saw all of the holes in my old theory, it got me thinking, how do we define success? So I consulted a credible professional, and according to www.google.ca/q equals what is success, success is defined as the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. And according to me, that information was completely useless. But it made me think about it. What is this success, as we call it? And where can I buy some? Now, the fear of not being good enough, that's something that all of us have to confront at some point in our lives. As youth living in a developed world, we feel an enormous amount of pressure to succeed in a world of success. And that can be detrimental to a person's self-worth, because our perception of other people, that does affect how we see ourselves. So that being said, does success mean that you're popular, you're well-liked? We've heard this before. Social media is too big a part of our lives. And it's true, to a huge extent. It's so interwoven with who we are that there is no separating it from us, because it connects us. What's going on at my school? What's going on with my friends? What are other people like me doing with their lives right now? The sheer access to information that we have is unprecedented. But the information that we choose to pursue is very often self-deprecating. How did he get that many followers? How does she have that many likes? Why don't I? We seem to be turning this question of am I not good enough outwards, because we're looking for its answer in the approval of other people. Likes, follows, reblogs. To an extent, we are all guilty of it. So how do we stop it? How do we stop defining ourselves by our insecurities? Because sometimes as teenagers, it feels like that is all we do. And I think that's because we overestimate the true definition of going above and beyond. And we underestimate the true definition of, corny as it sounds, loving ourselves. Because the reality of it is that we do not do that enough. The reality of it is that the rate of adolescent suicide has doubled in the past 30 years. Generation Z, our age, has been dubbed the most depressed of all time. According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, 10 to 20% of Canadian youth are affected by a mental illness or disorder. That's up to 1 in 5 people. We're facing new and modern challenges, self-harm, mental illness, and cyberbullying among them. 52% of teens have been cyberbullied. In BC, up to 39% of kids self-harm actively. So I think it's our responsibility in a world where we seem to crave acceptance and belonging to help each other find that within ourselves. To reach out to our friends, separate who we are from what our Instagram page is, mentally disconnect from a vicious cycle of self-deprecation that can come with being caught up in a game of who likes who best. Social media is great. I'm not saying that it's the cause of all of our problems, but it's pressuring us to treat ourselves and other people differently than we like. We're not authentic when you scroll down a news feed and like someone's picture just to be polite. Other people validating someone, that doesn't make them a success. Sometimes it makes them the opposite, too reliant on the approval of others. And then I thought maybe success is being the best of the best. In the past generation, there has been an enormous increase in youth populations. The UN has said that we are the world's largest generation with over 1.2 billion people. And along with this rise in population, there's also been a wonderful rise in literacy rates. But what that means is that there are 56,208,383 students in Canada and the US who will be entering post-secondary education within the next 15 years. And this figure does not include the number of international students who might want to pursue a North American education. The standards for who is admissible to schools has never been higher. Harvard, for example, said that its 2015 pool of applicants was the strongest in the college's history. So when floods of applications come in from kids who all have notable grades and GPAs, what sets them apart? Extracurriculars, achievements, shiny medals? How many clubs were you a president of? How many teams did you captain? The competition feels incredibly strong. Who stands out the most? Who's special? Now, I see myself as an average person with average intelligence and an average potential, and that can be difficult when remarkable people surround me. I know 2 professional teen models. My best friend has learned over 12 languages in the past year. I know a 15-year-old videographer who's been as far as China for his work. And I know I spend too much time on Netflix. And it took me a little while of self-loathing and wallowing before it occurred to me that they're just doing what makes them happy. Their success does not mean my failure, because my self-worth is not determined by someone else's success. We're caught in a culture that's obsessed with trying to be different just for the sake of being different because it looks good, even if it doesn't feel good. Pursuing what you love because you love it, that is what cannot be lost in this race to be different. The motivation for doing the things that you do, that should come from your passion for those things. Because gardening club makes you feel alive, or because the anime club makes you feel like you belong. I know too many people who live for their resume instead of their eulogy. And one of my greatest fears is giving in to that mindset. Why should you waste some of the best years of your life doing something that you're not passionate about when you have the means and the opportunities to do anything that you want to make you happy, to make you you? And that sounds like a straightforward concept. Be yourself. It's simple, right? I mean, who else could you be? But the answer is a lot of things. You can be so many things that are so far from who you are because you feel obligated to meet a certain criteria or to fit to a certain mold. As a teenager, it's very easy for us to feel powerless sometimes. We're caught in a very awkward threshold. We're treated like kids and expected to act like adults. It's natural to feel a little suffocated by that. But the criteria for who we must be, we are the ones to determine that. That is one of the greatest and most vital things that we do have power over, ourselves. Our choices are what define us, not our awards, not our likes, not our resumes. I feel like at the end of the day, we all want happiness so badly. We crave it, we chase it, we cry when we can't find it. And when we get caught up in that mix, I think we forget that happiness is not a state of being, it's a state of mind. It's an experience, it's an expression, and it's fleeting. That's what makes it so great in the first place. A world in which you are successful is a world in which you do all that you love and love all that you do. So my new definition for success is being content. It's respecting yourself and doing what you love, because you don't have to be happy all of the time to be successful. And you know something? 19-year-old me, she might not agree with 17-year-old me. And that's completely okay, because your success is as fluid as you are. It will change because you will. So be proud of who you are, because whatever you are, it is enough for the moment. It's not who you were yesterday, and it's not who you're going to be tomorrow. And that's the beauty of it. Because the power to choose who you are today is always in your hands. So be authentic. Be weird. Be Beyonce if that's who you are. No one is in the way of you being your best self except for you. This is the youngest that we will ever be, so seize that. If you take anything away from this talk at all, take this. The most important thing you will ever do is find contentedness in having honored who you are. Success will follow. So I hope that all of you, every single one of you, finds you are the accomplishment of an aim or purpose, because you'll deserve it. And now I have to ask, are you going to be a success? Thanks, guys.